It was a little bit more than 4 weeks ago that Gabe the Great, our new GM, signed George Hill to a 3-year, $73.66 million contract extension, essentially locking him up as our starting point guard through 2020. George Hill is now one of the highest paid players in the entire NBA, and we had calls that day, and we'll have calls today. Many mixed feelings. Some people thought it was a great idea. Some people did not think it was such a great idea. I, for one, could not understand what Gabe the Great was thinking. Well, today he makes another baffling move just a little bit more than 4 weeks after he signed George Hill to another contract extension. More on that coming up. My name is TJ Jackson. Welcome back to Power 108, Salt Lake City's #1 station for everything to do with the Utah Jazz MyGM series. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for everyday updates on everything that has to do with the Salt Lake City Utah Jazz. A lot of big stuff happening. Well, today the Utah Jazz have agreed to a trade with the Indiana Pacers for George Hill and James Michael McAdoo, their first-round draft pick from this year, for Jeff Teague and Aaron Brooks. That's right. The highest paid point guard in the league is now headed to the Indiana Pacers for Jeff Teague, who has an expiring contract, along with Aaron Brooks, who also has an expiring contract. If this is not the biggest GM finesse, I don't know what is. We knew that George Hill was going to walk. I don't know how he pulled this trade off. This is why he had to include the first round draft pick. Because essentially, George Hill was on a 4-year, $80 million contract, and you essentially ship him to Indiana for basically a point guard that does the exact same thing, but you clear up a lot of cap space. We're going to go to the phone lines here in a bit. Call on up here to Power 108, Salt Lake City's #1 station for everything for the Utah Jazz. We want to hear from you today. What do you think about this acquisition of Jeff Teague for Paul George? I, for one, I like Jeff Teague. As you guys know, I'm originally from Georgia, and Jeff Teague played for my Atlanta Hawks. I thought it was very dumb that the Atlanta Hawks got rid of him, especially for that German point guard that they got, whatever his name is. He's not that good, not better than Jeff Teague, but they let him go. But now we acquire him. I like Jeff Teague's game. He is a scorer. He's not really a pass-first guy, but he can score. And something that I think we needed. He looked pretty good in the first game. Speaking of scoring, he didn't score that much. But he did come away with 9 points, 12 assists, and 3 steals, 5 turnovers in his first game as a Utah Jazz. We did end up beating the Indiana Pacers, his old team, by 28 points. So maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this will work out. Trade deadline. I can't even talk today. Trade deadline. So many bloopers here today.
You ever had a dream that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Trade deadline coming up, and so many trades are happening out here in Utah. You're going to see all of them here. You're going to get all the final. We made 3 more deals that will deeply impact our roster, to some to clear up cap space, some to bring in some players that we think will help us. Overall, as you guys know, we are the 3rd seed in the West, 6 or 7 games behind the Golden State Warriors. We have beat the Golden State Warriors twice in 2 blowouts. for those of you that don't know. So we are doing pretty decent here. We're 31-19, 12 games above 500. So I'm liking the direction that we're going. It looks like Gordon Hayward is going to make his very first All-Star game. So I'm very, very excited about that. Very excited to see how that goes. But let's go to the phone lines. Let's get some callers. Callers, what do you think about this acquisition of Jeff Teague? We have James. James from Salt Lake City. You're on Power 108. Salt Lake City's #1 station for everything Utah Jazz. Go ahead, James. What do you think of this acquisition of Jeff Teague? Man, I've never seen somebody like this guy. This is amazing. He signed this guy to a big deal. Then he was able to dump the contract on the Indiana Pacers and essentially get the exact same guard. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, if you love that, James, you're also going to love our next acquisition of Marcin Gortat, which is exactly what we need right now because Rudy Gobert did go down with an injury. So we bring in Marcin Gortat from the Wizards. And let me tell you, man, this guy, Gabe the Great, he knows how to trade players. I mean, this is a guy who can absolutely get on the phones with other GMs. Other GMs want to talk to him. Other GMs like to hear from him. Other GMs, for whatever reason, are able to give this guy what he wants. And you can't really argue with the facts. We're 14 games above 500, 35-21, catching up to the Golden State Warriors here. So we get Jeff Teague, we get Marcin Gortat beefing up our bench even more. We get a great perennial starter in Jeff Teague. He does have an expiring contract, so that does free up a ton of cap space for next season. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what we do. Maybe they thought that George Hill signing him for that big of a contract was a bad idea. Here's what I like about this trade. What I like about this trade is because you get rid of such a huge contract, not only is this good for us because we essentially get a point guard who knew the exact same thing that George Hill could do for cheaper, but also what is really cool is now the Indiana Pacers are wrapped up with a ton of cap space, and they have to figure out what to do with Paul George. I don't really know why they would do this trade. I don't really know what they're thinking. I know George Hill used to play for the Indiana Pacers, so he has a lot of fans there. Maybe this is for fans' sake. But meanwhile, over here, we are still willing and dealing, trying to figure out what we are going to do. We haven't been too impressed with Kyle Korver and JJ Redick since they've come over here. So I hear that we have made another trade, actually. This time we are trading for Robert Covington from the 76ers. We're sending Amir Johnson and our second-round draft pick of 2019. Personally, I think this is a great trade. As you guys know, we were overstacked. Not just stacked, we were overstacked at the power forward position. So we get rid of a power forward, and we also get a pretty decent score in Robert Covington. Pretty reliable score we have here. But we are here on Power 108, Salt Lake City's #1 station for everything with the Utah Jazz. I'm your host, TJ Jackson. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new for the latest and greatest updates on everything with the Utah Jazz. And be sure to hit that like button so we can keep bringing you amazing content. Don't forget, we are doing a giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. So be sure to leave your comment or question with the hashtag Gabe the Great. That's hashtag Gabe the Great. And we'll be sure to answer your question in an oncoming video. We want to know, what would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of? What fired you guys up? And that is what we are going to keep giving you. As you know, we are rebuilding the Utah Jazz, and personally, I like what this guy Gabe the Great has done. We are 14 games above 500. We're willing and dealing, making a lot of moves here. And it looks like we're going to make one more move. We're getting rid of Zaza Pachulia and TJ McConnell to get Julius Randle and Meta World Peace from the LA Lakers. I like this deal, number one, because I just do not like Zaza Pachulia, and TJ McConnell was on the bench and he was not happy about it. So we get rid of that. So that's just like the team that we are going to go forward with because the trade deadline is here. I like our roster, and I'm looking for us to make a push in the playoffs. Well, it's been nice. It's been real. It's your host, TJ McConnell from Power 108, Salt Lake City's #1 station for everything Utah Jazz. Again, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new for the latest and greatest updates on everything Utah Jazz in this MyGM series. And I will see you next time. Peace.